So, okay, if there's something that I really wanted you to remember from this day, it's ultimately this, that happiness is not something you have to deserve, earn, work for, or pay for. Not unless, of course, you want to. But I'm going to suggest that if you wanted to make a great breakthrough around happiness, it would be that you realize you can allow yourself to be happy at any given moment in your life without having to earn it.
I found it very interesting, but a bit confrontational. For my personal preference, I felt very exposed. And the lady I got partnered with, I felt very boring in comparison because I couldn't think of anything to say.
It's been difficult, because it's very difficult to sort of put yourself in positions that you're not normally used to. So. But it's been very interesting. I've enjoyed it.
There's a lot of things I have to confront and have to come to terms with before I'm going to get anything out of this. And it hasn't quite got to that, but I think it will. But I feel definitely benefit from it.
If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it and you really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands.
It's in the United States that pioneering research is taking place. In EEG experiments at Madison University in Wisconsin, they are trying to find out which part of the brain responds to happiness.
All right, Ken, you're all set.
Okay, thanks. Ken. Yes. Okay, we're about to show you a series of slides, and they vary in emotional nature. Some of them are positive, others are negative. Let the emotions that are elicited by the slides just well up within you, and we're going to be recording physiology during this time. Here we go.
By measuring the electrical activity in the brains of thousands of people, quite literally their brain waves, Professor Richard Davidson has discovered that happiness lights up the left prefrontal lobe. By monitoring how active this area is in a resting state, Davidson can tell whether a person is naturally happy or unhappy.
We find that there are indeed people who walk around the world characteristically happy. Those people have more left prefrontal activation in a resting state. Doesn't need to be induced. A well-known psychologist talked about cerebral joy juice. This difference that we've identified among people is a biological correlate, if you will, or a biological substrate of cerebral joy juice.
These findings are confirmed by social psychologists in Britain.
There do seem to be happy personalities. They tend to be extroverts more than introverts, and they tend to think in special ways. They look on the bright side, what Americans call the Pollyanna effect. They're very optimistic. They assume things are going to be okay. They only remember good things about the past. If things go wrong, they don't blame themselves. They might blame somebody else. They wouldn't blame themselves, as unhappy people do.
Okay, Chris, I'd like you to lay down. Head in the head holder.
To reinforce the results of his EEG experiments, Professor Davidson carries out a brain scan. By monitoring blood flow, this shows more precisely which areas light up during happiness. His subjects are shown cheerful pictures and asked to think of happy events from their past to put them in a good mood. Then the scanner builds up a picture of the most active parts of their brain.
Here we see a focus in the left prefrontal region that is significantly more activated when a person is experiencing happiness that is produced by watching these pictures compared to watching pictures that have neutral content. So these findings complement our EEG findings and confirm them, but we now are able to say where within the frontal region these differences are present.
Caroline and the others have to fill out 2 questionnaires to measure their feel-good factor every week, the Oxford Happiness Inventory and the Auckland University Affectometer. The volunteers have to answer numerous questions about how they are feeling, which, when analysed, give an accurate picture of their state of mind. This is translated into a weekly score. Caroline was the most unhappy of the three at the start of the course, way down at -35 on this subjective scale. To get an objective measurement of her state of mind, QED took her to Professor Davidson's lab in Madison.
Adjust it however.
Okay, that's fine.
Are you comfortable now?
That's fine, yes.
Caroline?
Yeah.
Okay, we're ready to begin now.
Caroline's brain activity is compared to that of all Davidson's subjects, from the happiest to the unhappiest.
Caroline's data is represented by this yellow line. And what you can see is that her brain function falls slightly to the right side of this curve, which is likely to be associated with a slightly negative emotional disposition. And it'll be very interesting to see how this pattern of brain activity is different following her training.
In Weston-super-Mare, Keith is 1 week into the QED happiness course. He's under strict instructions to exercise for at least 30 minutes every day.
Simply engaging in exercise puts people in a better mood. And there was one experiment where people went for a pathetic 10-minute brisk walk, and this had measurable effects on their well-being 2 hours later. So if we go for serious exercise, that will certainly improve our state of subjective well-being or happiness. And it also improves our mental health, and many doctors and psychiatrists are now prescribing exercise in cases of depression. And in some studies it's been found exercise was as successful as psychotherapy, which is bad news for psychologists, I suppose.
People who take exercise release endorphins, which are the body's natural painkiller. Similarly, people who are happy, particularly people who laugh a lot, they show a great capacity to be able to release endorphins too. Laughter has been described as stationary jogging or internal aerobics. It's a good form of exercise.
One expert goes as far as to claim that 100 laughs is equivalent to a 10-minute jog. Keith had to start every day with the aid of taped laughter and a good giggle. The American research shows that even a smile can shift the brain into a happier frame of mind, as long as it's the right kind of smile.
Smiling voluntarily may actually facilitate or increase the extent to which a person feels happy. And what we found is that when a person produced a social smile, which just has the cheeks pulling the lips up, that kind of smile did not produce very much change in the EEG whatsoever. The smile that involved both the cheek muscles and the eye muscles produced a pattern that was similar but not identical to the pattern that we see during spontaneous happiness. So if there is a form of smiling that we can produce voluntarily that will have beneficial effects, it's likely going to be the smile that involves both the cheek muscles as well as the eye muscles.
It's a happy day.